TSG Hoffenheim against Frankfurt, I think, is where we have to go next. Hoffenheim with a huge win, 3-1 against Frankfurt. Hoffenheim now with a bit of breathing space, 4 points clear of the relegation playoff spot and of the 17th spot. Goes from Baumgartner, Kramaric and Bebu. For Frankfurt, it was Mario Götze when Frankfurt were one man up, but one coach down in the second half because Oliver Glasner was sent off for kicking the ball onto the pitch, which apparently is an immediate sending off. I wasn't aware of that. But that's how the referee explained it later. But the game itself, not as memorable perhaps as the outburst from Oliver Glasner, who's not known as being particularly loud and outspoken, at least not in public. He kind of lost it a little bit with one journalist who asked him, is this a sign here yet again that the team perhaps don't realize how big a game this was, with a big chance to move up in the table? And he went, I don't want to say ballistic, but he basically went for the guy saying, I can't hear this anymore. All this talk about mentality. My players run their socks off. The old guy, Hasebe, he's got blood in his urine. He's running so much. Interesting expression. But anyway, and then,
but maybe saying, Hasebe should consult a doctor, because
urologist, should have that checked out for sure. That's not healthy. But some clever people, Christoph, that I read were saying this is really just a cry for help in a way, because Glasner has been talking about a lack of options and lack of freshness in the squad all along. They had to play in Europe, of course, in the Champions League, and their league form has suffered as a result. And maybe by defending his team and saying how much they're working and how tough it is for them, he was also kind of making the point that they could have done with more help. So perhaps it was actually not so emotional and quite calculated. What did you think?
I think it was also calculated. I think it was a mix, and but we have to remind our listeners that Frankfurt had a game during the week, a very important one. They won the semi-final of the German Cup away in Stuttgart, and they showed a great performance in the second half, turning the game around and looking like the old Frankfurt. And I think also in this context, it was a bit unfair to question their willpower, their mentality, and so on. And so in this respect, I understand that the outburst, but you're right. I think there is an ongoing discussion within Frankfurt, also between Markus Krösche and Oliver Glasner, Markus Krösche being the sports director, about the quality of the squad. We already discussed the quality, especially of the defense line. And I think that's the main concern by Glasner, saying that the quality of his defenders are not up to the to what the club wants. They want to at least qualify for Europe, but probably qualify for the Champions League, develop Eintracht into a top team. And so there are signs, and there are signs that probably Frankfurt and Glasner will depart. And that reminds me a bit of and there we are with our old friend Jörg Schmatke, who let Glasner go in Wolfsburg, although he was successful. And he more or less said that Glasner went on his nerves. And one of the reasons is that he also there, he was complaining about the quality of the squad, and he wanted to have a more say in what kind of players are signed and so on. And I think So it's pretty mixed. He rightly complained about the complaint. I think the outburst was justified, but there is also an element of maybe Glasner is having difficulties to find his role as a manager within the framework of a club. I mean, he came from Austria, where he was very successful at a little club. Welcher war das nochmal? Linz?
Lask.
He was very successful with Lask in a provincial club in Austria from Linz. And he was the man there. And probably he is still having this in mind, having the control of everything, every sporting aspect. I don't know, but so it's Frankfurt is in a strange situation right now.
Yeah, but still with a chance, of course, for qualifying in Europe. If they win the cup, then they're in.